everyone, it's Rabbi Bloom and Chazan Weber from the Congregation of Ad Shalom. We're here to liven up a little our second night Seder, or in general to learn a little bit about the Seder, whether you're from the congregation or just a guest here with us. So welcome.
And this will be my first actual Seder with you guys, because last year we didn't have anything, because everything all started.
Yes, last year, we canceled everything last minute because the last time we were together, really, as an entire congregation, was Purim. And thank God, Passover this year, we're going to be live as well, not only online. So we will be here, and it's symbolic, I think, very important that we're here on Passover, because, it's the end of the plague, pandemic, God willing, and freedom, and it comes together. I was thinking the other evening that this year's plagues, this year's Seder, is very reminiscent almost of Egypt. And why is that? For the past year, we've all been separated. Families have been separated. You haven't been able to see parents, children, loved ones, friends, because of the pandemic, because of quarantine. And in many ways, it's almost like the ninth plague, the plague of darkness. One of the things they said, that plague of darkness was the psychological distance between people. They couldn't support one another because they couldn't see. So how can you offer assistance if you can't see? You feel by yourself, you feel alone. And many people this year, unfortunately, have felt alone.
Absolutely.
As well. I mean, even our own families, our own friends, felt alone, almost helpless. You can't come to the support of someone. Can't just get in your car and go give someone a hug when they're in need. And then the 10th plague, of course, is the death of the firstborn. And unfortunately, we've had over 500,000 deaths here just in the United States during the past year, during the pandemic. And those are someone's first, second, third born, their whole world as well. And hopefully we're now getting over that hump. And then the children of Israel prepared to leave Egypt. They had to get everything ready quickly in order to leave. In order to get that freedom, they had to prepare themselves. And I know both of us, you just had your second shot the other day. Getting a vaccine is almost like getting prepared to go through the Red Sea of getting over with pandemic.
Absolutely.
And anyone who is watching, I know I speak on behalf of the Chazan and myself, and I speak on behalf of Judaism, get a vaccine. Vaccine is imperative according to Pikuach Nefesh, the saving of the life, of Sha'at Dachag, an emergency hour. And Judaism says that you must get it unless there is a life-threatening reason that you shouldn't. And we also have a pharmacologist that comes to our daily minyan who said that if you look at the difference between Johnson & Johnson, Moderna, and Pfizer, there are different components in each, so you should be able to find one. So please, so all of us can go through the Red Sea, and the cantor can chant Az Yashir, what they sang when we go through the Red Sea, to a full house at minyan every morning with his beautiful voice. Please go and get vaccinated.
What he said.
Yes.
I agree.
And then going through the Red Sea, the children of Israel got to the other side, eventually getting to the land of Israel, the promised land. I believe that we are on the cusp of God willing, also going through the Red Sea of the pandemic. So
from your mouth to God's ears.
Or from your singing voice to God's ears, and then we're all in good shape as well. So this is really the special meaning. We're not going to do the entirety of a Seder because Rabbi Akiva would do it from sundown to early morning, and I think the cantor here is a bit tired. We might all fall asleep before the 88th glass of wine.
Definitely.
So we are going to do an abbreviated Seder
but meaningful.
Show, it's definitely going to be meaningful, and I'm very happy that we'll be able to do this together, and God willing, next year we'll be able to do it in person with a communal Seder here as well.
Amen.
Absolutely. We are going to start. We have a special Agadah that we use here that we put together in 5778 for a citywide Fort Worth Passover Seder, which I led, and we're going to use that because you'll see in a few moments it has some interesting languages when it comes to asking the questions.
And it's a shorter Haggadah.
Don't tell anyone, don't tell me. You see, he lets you in on all these secrets. All right, well, we have the beginning steps of the Seder. So, and we have to understand that the Seders have been around since approximately 1450 before the Common Era. And our Seder will be not as unique as then, because that's when they left Egypt, but it'll be unique to us because we're coming to you through the internet as well. So why don't you sing the steps of the Seder?
So we've got everything that we do in the Seder, the order of the Seder, and we got all the things on the plate here. So let's sing about them. I'll bet you know the tune. Sing along. Kadesh urchatz karpas yachatz magi rachza motzi matzah maror korech Shulchan orech, tzafon barech, halel nirtzah.
And that translates to the first cup in Kiddush, which we'll explain in a second, the first hand washing, which we do without a blessing because it is not that time to eat yet, the dipping of the vegetable and salt water, the breaking of the middle matzah, and I have a great matzah joke when we get to it, the storytelling, the second hand washing, nitilat yadayim, where we do say the blessing before we eat, the first and second blessing over the matzah, the second dipping, the hillel sandwich, which is very important, you'll understand why a little later, the communal meal, we hope you have something very delicious. We are having the man from heaven as our meal today, the afikomen, the dessert, the Birkat Mazon, the Psalms of Praise, the Hallel, and the concluding prayers, and what we would consider almost folk songs. The Kiddush, this is Elijah's cup right here. Elijah, the prophet, being the guest at every home for Passover. Can I tell you a funny story?
Sure.
When I was a little kid, we had in Olney, Maryland, Brookville, Maryland, we would always have a traditional Seder, and as a little kid, would go open the door for Elijah. So one day I go to open the door, I'm all excited, get some fresh air because it's hot. Open the door, my parents say, go open for Elijah. I open it, my next door neighbor is like standing right there. Can I come in? I'm like, all right, we're calling you Elijah from now on. He wasn't Elijah, but that was the one time that it actually worked out that way.
Well, and you may have seen the meme that's going around also, is this year you actually might see Elijah, or at least Elijah's mask there at the door when Elijah appears.
Okay, yes. Make sure that Elijah has his mask on when he comes. All right, the Kiddush sanctifies not the wine, but the holiday. Pesach is dedicated to remember the day of your exodus from Egypt. On Shabbat, we add some additional text, but it is not Shabbat. The first Seder is Motzei Shabbat. Second Seder is Sunday evening. So we're going to rise as we do the four cups. Hopefully we'll still be in the camera. Here we are. So we're on page two. What page one in here? Cantor, would you be happy to please say the blessing? Hineni muchanim uzaman l'kayem mitzvat kos rishon shel arba kosot. Here I am, ready to perform the mitzvah of the first cup of wine and to dedicate the whole evening to telling the story of miracles and wonders that were performed for our ancestors in Egypt. Yes, page two.
Page 2. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher bachar bar mikol mikolav v'romanim kol hashon v'yirashanu b'mitzvotav, v'titen lanu Adonai Eloheinu b'ahava, modin l'simcha, hagim zmanim l'sason. את חג המצות הזה, זמן חירותנו, מקרא קודש, זכר ליציאת מצרים. כי באנו בחרת ואותנו קידשת מכל העמים, מודה קודשך, בשמחה וששון, הנחלתנו, ברוך אתה אדוני, מקדש ישראל והזמנים.
And then together, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. We praise you, Adonai, our God, rule of the universe, who has kept us alive and well. Thank God, so that we can celebrate this special occasion. L'chaim.
And I know we're supposed to drink the whole glass each time, but I may not right now.
No problemo, we will make it through. Zecher Litziat Mitzrayim. The Kiddush Pesach is called the time of our liberation. Reading out loud one of the following stories, which I'm going to do, is one of the ways to do it. There's a great story. It's a great midrash. It's actually on page 3 here. And the story goes like this. On January 27th, 1990, the rabbi came to shul, as usual, to greet the older men who were his morning minyan regulars. Came to services every morning. And one of them said to the rabbi, "Aren't you going to wish me a happy birthday?" And the rabbi said, "Sure, how old are you?" And the man said, "I'm 45 today." The rabbi looked at him and he said, 45? You look at least 70, 75. He said, "No, today is the day I celebrate as my birthday, my rebirth. For 45 years ago, I was reborn when the Allies liberated me from Auschwitz. The gift of life and the gift of freedom are for me inseparable. It's in the same spirit as the story told above. The Torah tells the story of the freedom, Yetziat Mitzrayim, the freedom from Egypt during the month of Nisan, which we are in now. Month of Nisan has as its root Nes, miracle, in it, and it is the miracle of rebirth of the children of Israel, regaining their freedom that we celebrate so much. We are now going to wash our hands with the water without the blessing as we prepare for the eating of the karpas. The karpas is, where is the karpas? Here. Karpas is celery here, parsley? Parsley. And we dip it in salt water. Some medieval rabbis forbid eating more than an olive side of parsley for that, to show that, each person, it's not based upon how much you have. It's based upon all of us being free, and thereby we are equal, so we only eat a little part of that. Cantor, would you like to say the blessing? And
surely.
Page 4.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri ha'adama.
Now,
I like parsley. I like salt water better, though.
You like parsley because you like, is it Simon and Garfunkel? Parsley, sage?
Parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme, yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
And I have most of them growing in the garden at home.
You should be impressed that I knew that, didn't you? Shimon and Garfunkel.
Shimon and Garfinkel.
Yes, there you go. So we now break the middle of the 3 matzahs. Now we have 3 matzahs. There's many different explanations of the 3 matzahs, and none of them are 3-card Monty. None of them are 3-card Monty. One is, we know that there is the Kohen, Levi, and Israelites, the 3 aliyot, the 3 tribes. We have Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, the three patriarchs. So there's many different reasons why we have 3 here, but we have 3, which is a traditional number in Judaism as well. What we do is we break the half of it will be the afikomen, which is what you search for after the meal. And the afikomen wasn't actually a gift or something that they searched for. Do you know what it was?
No, tell me, Rabbi.
Thank you. The afikomen was actually the dessert.
Oh yeah, but that I knew. I thought you were going someplace else with it.
No, it was actually dessert, so people wouldn't leave and go, not sukkah hopping, Seder hopping. So you'd have to stay so everyone could say Birkat Hamazon, and that's why they had the afikomen as a dessert, which would come out later.
So if you don't mind, I'll have my annual ridiculous joke, because you know that I like ridiculous jokes going along with this. What is the ailment that everybody gets this time of year from eating too much matzah? They suffer from afikomen. Sorry.
That's almost as bad as having chorosit of the liver.
Chorosit of the liver,
Which
yes.
we'll show in a second. Yeah. Well, it's almost as good as my joke every Shabbat. Please rise unless you are matzah.
Matzah, yes.
So, you know, I think both have these sort of pat jokes that we use and to keep everyone.
Okay, we yachatzed it already.
Yes, we're now going to start telling the story of the Seder, which is the Magid. It says, Hineni muchan mezuman lekayem et mitzvah l'saper b'yitziat Mitzrayim. Here I am ready to perform the mitzvah of retelling the story of the Exodus from Egypt. There is a song, Halach Manya, which is the bread of affliction, the bread of poverty, which the matzah is known. You know, matzah can't take more than 18 minutes to rise. The children of Israel didn't have time in preparation to bake bread before they left Egypt, so they only had time to make matzah, and that's why it's called the bread of affliction. And if you look and have an imagination, you can also see almost like the texture of the kotel of the western wall here as well. So if you use your imagination before the fourth cup of wine, after the fourth cup of wine, Lord knows everything looks like Jerusalem. So we're on Halach Manya.
Page 6. Join me, Rabbi.
We might lose viewers if I start singing.
Halach Manya, Halach Manya, di achalu ahatana, behara di Mitzrayim, behara di Mitzrayim, kol dikvin yeteh veichol, kol detrich yeteh veistach, Ashatacha Leshana Haba Be'arba de Yisrael Ashatabde Leshana Haba B'nei Chorin.
Let all who are hungry come and eat. Let all who are in need come and share the Pesach meal. This year we are still here. Next year in the land of Israel. This year we are still slaves. Next year, free people. And as I said in the beginning, it is truly fitting for what we are going through with the coronavirus. Now we're going to get to the 4 questions. And there's just so both the Chazan and myself have this book. It's a great book. It's called, it'll be great for your Seder anytime, 300 Ways to Ask the 4 Questions. And it has it in different languages from around the world. It tells you what that language is, tells you how many people there are, and then the question itself. So it's always funny to try and do some sort of language that we have never heard of or we can't read. So I highly suggest you get one of them. I'm just going to pick some language to tell what it is. Okay, here he is, Tigrinya.
Tigrinya, okay.
You didn't learn that? I didn't learn that in rabbinical school. Did you learn about that in cantorial school?
Not in cantorial school either, no.
All right. The number of speakers is 5,791,710. Not 709, 710. It's ranked 120. It's also called Tigray. It's one of the national languages of Ethiopia.
Good to know.
So the Jews came from there. It's spoken in Tigray province. There are also speakers in Israel. The liturgy of those in Bate Israel who speak Tigray are written in Ge'ez, which is an ancient language as well. It's also the language of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church. So here in Ethiopia, and there's a great movie which is called Red Sea Diving Resort.
Yeah.
Have you seen it?
Yep.
It's about the freedom of the Ethiopian Jews and how the Mossad helped save them from Ethiopia and bring them to Israel. It's based upon a true story, and there's footage in the end. So we're talking about going from slavery to freedom. We've talked about Egypt. We've talked about the pandemic here in Fort Worth and around the world. You know, you have events like Israel taking the Jews out of Ethiopia. You have July 4th, 1976, and Tebi. So I really think if we look around, we don't have to look at this only in a historical manner. We look at it in a very present manner. And that's why we also hope that you'll join us on Shabbat. The Chazan here makes our traditional prayers come to life with tunes to Stairway to Heaven and things like that. So please join us as well. Just not for here, join us whenever. We would always love to have you. And we now do the 4 questions, which is usually done by the youngest child at the Seder to keep them awake and interested. But now we will do it with a person with a better voice.
I'm the younger child in my family. You know, until we had kids, I was always the one who had to do it. So, or got to do it.
Flashback.
Join me. Ma nishtana halayla ze mikol halelot shebachol halelot anu ochlin hametu matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah halayla hazeh kulo matzah שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים שאר ירקות הלילה הזה מרור הלילה הזה מרור שבכל הלילות אין אנו מטבילים אפילו פעם אחת הלילה הזה שתי פעמים הלילה הזה שתי פעמים 4 שבכל הלילות אנו אוכלים בין יושבין ובין מסובין הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים הלילה הזה כולנו מסובים.
How is this night different from all other nights? On all other nights we eat either leavened bread or matzah, but on this night we eat only matzah. On all other nights we eat other kinds of vegetables, but on this night we eat maror, bitter herbs. On all other nights, we need not dip our vegetables even once, but on this night we dip twice. On all other nights, we eat either sitting upright or reclining, but on this night we all recline. We now go to Avadim Chayinu, which is on page 12 of our this is Shmuel's story. When in time to come your children ask you, what is the meaning of the decrees, laws, and rules that the Lord our God has enjoined upon you? You shall say to your children, we were slaves to Pharaoh in Egypt, and the Lord freed us from Egypt with a mighty hand and an outstretched arm. The Lord produced before our eyes great and awful signs and wonders in Egypt against Pharaoh and all his household, and God freed us from there so that God could take us and give us a land that had been promised on oath to our ancestors, and that is from the 6th chapter, verses 20 through 23 of the book of Deuteronomy. Avadim Chayinu.
Sing with me. עבדים חיינו, אתה בני חורין, עבדים חיינו, אתה בני חורין, עבדים חיינו, אתה בני חורין, אתה בני חורין,
And now we get to the four children, which is always interesting. The four children are the wise one, the wicked one, the simple one, and the one does not know how to ask. It is each child there that represents one side of us. That sometimes we are wise about something, sometimes we smart off, we're wicked, sometimes we really don't know how to ask, and sometimes we just take things for granted. We have to understand that each and every one of us has different sides. If we try and move towards wisdom, who is wise, he who learns from all individuals, as it says in Pirkei Avot, Ethics of the Fathers, it would be a great thing for all of us to do. One of the great things you can do is open a book and see different representations of the four children, and sometimes you can't even tell who is who, and it's great for interpretation around the table. Page 13, Baruch HaMakom.
Sing with me.
Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu, Baruch Natan Torah, Shenatan Torah, Li'amo Yisrael, Baruch HaMakom, Baruch Hu. All right.
That's it. The nice short version.
Yeah, two of us are a choir.
We will be getting a choir together again, I promise.
Oh, I look forward to it.
Online, with an app. We'll make it work. And someday, when we get to the other side of the other side of the river, so to speak, or the sea, we will be having a choir in person with everybody here all together.
Okay. And you know what? Because you said that, let's tell our children why we do this. The rabbis wondered about, you shall tell your child on that day, it is because of this that the Lord did for me when I went free from Egypt. Could this verse mean that you should begin to tell the story at the beginning of the month of which the Exodus occurred? No, for the verse explicitly states, on that day of the Exodus. Could this mean that we start when it's still daytime? No, for the verse explicitly states, because of this. This refers to matzah maror laid before you only on the Seder night, so says the Mechilta. This implies that the parents must point at the matzah and maror and explain it to the children. Once again, it is believed that all of us crossed the Red Sea, right? You can remember,
Absolutely.
Those fashionable bathing suits.
I was there.
We all received the Torah and Revelation as well, and that way we come together by saying that God did this for me, which once again shows that we identify with those who were there. And we're now going to sing. Actually, the cantor is going to sing.
What are we going to sing?
V'hi Sha'amda on page 15.
You're going to help me with this one.
Oh, yes, of course.
I told you, this is the one that I've always stumbled a little bit on this one.
Okay.
V'hi she'amda lavoteinu v'lanu. V'hi she'amda lavoteinu v'lanu.
You didn't struggle at all.
I thought you wanted the whole rest of the text there.
No, it's okay. With this, you're supposed to raise the matzah on this to show the matzah once again, as well as the wine. There's a interesting custom.
What is that custom?
I believe it's in Iraq. They take the matzah and they wave it over the head of all the participants, once again to really show that we were there. It's one of those virtual ways. And there's another way, although Michal never let me do this. There's an ultra-Orthodox, I also believe it's Russian, they take a pitcher of water, right? And they spill the water on the floor. Now I don't think Andrea would let you do this either. So spill the water on the floor, and you walk over it to show that you actually also went through this. So one year, don't tell anyone, okay? No telling anyone. We put a bucket of water on the floor, a little bowl. Of course, I'm going to walk over it in order to show. What do you think happened?
Perhaps you didn't make it over the bucket.
I did not make it over the bucket, and then the water was on the floor, and you see, in the end, I was able to put the water on the floor.
All right.
All right, so there we go. And, you know, we're waiting for some of your stories here to add a little ridiculousness to our fun here. So we did Vahisha Amda, Arami Oved Avi, the wandering Jew.
I had one of those growing in my house once.
Did you?
Yeah, nice hanging plant.
Did it wander a lot?
Not too much. It just kind of stayed there in the pot hanging there.
It's a beautiful plant, though. Unless it starts wandering and sleepwalking at night.
That would be a problem.
Yes. On Pesach, each of us retells the story of wandering and becoming, as did the former being the first fruits. When you enter the land the Lord your God is giving you as inheritance, and you possess it and settle it on them, then you shall take some of every first fruit of the soil, put it in a basket, go to a place where the Lord your God will choose to establish his name, and you will donate it there for those who need it. We get to the 10 plagues. There is a tradition that we dip our finger into the wine for the 10 plagues and put it on a plate. We'll put it on here, each dip, and you don't suck your finger afterwards. Why is that? You know, God created us all. And Egyptians, the Jews, whoever, you know, everyone, it doesn't define who he created us all. So it's symbolic of God's tears, that God had to bring about death to some of the people he created because of their stubbornness. Thereby, we take a drop out because our happiness, of which the wine symbolizes, is never complete when it had to come at the expense of others.
So did you say that you know a tune for this?
I do. Why don't you sing just a regular tune and then...
Because I don't have a tune. My whole life we've always just said
Okay, so let's you do it and then we'll dunk.
Okay. Dam Tzvardeya Kinim Arov Dever Shechin Barad Arbe Choshech Machar Bechorot.
Blood, frogs, lice, wild beasts, cattle plague, boils, hail, locusts, darkness, death of the firstborn. Each of these grow in severity over time, and each actually also defeat an Egyptian belief and an Egyptian god. Now, Rabbi Yehuda Ayado Ten Behem Simanim, Rabbi Yehuda, in order to remember them, would give them an abbreviation, which we also dip. It's Datzach Adash Be'achav. That's how you could understand it as an acrostic. And the one I know goes to Don't Walk in Front of Me. Dam Sefardei Akinim Arov Dever Shechin Barad Arbe Choshech Makat Bechorot. These are the 10 plagues.
So you've seen it. The rabbi has taught me a song today. Shakal.
And I was in the right tune, just might have been the wrong key.
It sounded beautiful.
All right, so now we're going to get to Dayenu. It would have been enough if one thing happened or another thing happened, but God gave us all these different miracles, which the cantor is going to sing, one or two of them, and we will explain what they are, especially at the end, which is, it would have been enough. God gave us Aman, what he gave us to eat, but he also gave us the Shabbat. So, Ilo Hotzianu, Dayenu.
Elo hotzianu mimitzrayim, hotzianu mimitzrayim, dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu, et haTorah natan lanu, et haTorah dayenu. Dayenu, 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 dayenu. Ilu natan lanu, et haShabbat natan lanu, et haShabbat dayenu. die Dayenu, die Dayenu, die Dayenu, 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 die Dayenu, die Dayenu, die Dayenu, Dayenu, Dayenu.
Good.
I have 13 minutes.
Okay. We're now going to talk about what we need to talk about. Rabban Gamliel said that in telling the story of the Exodus, we must explain the meaning of the three most important symbols. That is the Pesach, Matzah, and the Maror. Where's the Maror here?
Right here.
The Maror right here. That's Chazeret. Right.
Here we go.
Here, the bitter
There
herbs.
we go.
So we're going to explain what they are, thereby fulfilling what we need to do. Pesach Hashuma, Pesach Shayu Avotenu, Ochlim Bezman Shebeit HaMikdash Haya Kayam, Al Shum Shepasach HaKadosh Baruch Hu Abatei Avotenu. For what is the Paschal Lamb? Why did we use it to eat it? To remind ourselves that God passed over our ancestors' houses in Egypt. At this very hour, on this very date, Moses has already instructed us, when your children ask you, what do you mean by the ceremony? You shall say, it is the Passover offering to the Lord, because God passed over the houses of Israel in Egypt when God struck the Egyptians, but saved our houses. We go to the second, which is the matzah. Matzah al-shumma. Matzah zo sha'anu ochlim al-shumma. To remind, or for what is matzah? To remind ourselves that even before the dough of our ancestors in Egypt had time to rise and become leavened, the King of Kings, the Holy One, blessed be He, revealed Himself and redeemed them. Why this maror? Why do we eat it? To remind ourselves that Egyptians embittered our ancestors' lives. They embittered their lives with hard labor and with mortar and bricks and with all sorts of field labor, the agriculture. Whatever the task, they worked them ruthlessly. B'chol dor v'dor, in every generation, one is obligated to see oneself as one who personally went out from Egypt. We do B'tzeit Yisrael, the Hallel, on page 21. We won't do that now, though we will do the second cup, because the cantor's been kicking me under the table, saying, when are we going to drink again? So we'll go straight to the
But
second cup.
this is just wine. So.
Wine before it's time.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen.
And before that, you even say, Baruch atah Adonai Gal Yisrael. We praise you, Adonai, our God, who has freed the people of Israel. And then we do the ritual washing now for a meal. We aren't going to do that because we don't have a meal. So we won't do that. Then we eat the matzah. We're going to do the korech, the Hillel sandwich on page 24. And so we'll do that, the rachasah, motzi matzah, and the korech, which is a Hillel's. Maror is, why do we eat maror? We eat a maror to show us how things were bitter in Egypt. There's you'll like this. A fiddler, right? A fiddler. Not fiddler on the roof.
Fiddler on the roof.
But a musician named Seamus Connolly, an Irish fiddler, once said in the name of his mother, we were never so happy as when we were crying. So we never enjoy the horseradish so much as when it brings tears to our eyes. Pfizer should have used horseradish, but this would have been over a long time ago. And so we say, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher gsham mitzvah v'tzivanu al achilat maror. And then we have the Hillel sandwich, which is you take the third bottom matzah of the three, as I explained. You prepare a sandwich of matzah, maror, and charoset, and you eat it while reclining to the left. Why do we recline to the left during the Seder?
It's easier to digest that way.
That's actually the true medical reason.
I know.
And the ritual reason is, I learned that in medics course. It is absolutely true. Is that free people lean to the left, and we're all free, so we lean to the left. We eat. We say Birkat Hamazon, the blessing over the meal. Nar Haiti Gam Zakanti V'lo Raiti Tzadik Nezav. You want to sing that? No.
Where are we?
We're on page 25.
Page 25. Which tune do you know?
Anyone you like.
I can't find where we are.
No.
Go ahead.
Yerut Adonai Kiroshav Yeh Masoli Re'ah Kifim Rashu V'Ra'evu V'Rosh Adonai Lo Yisruchotov Hodu Adonai Kitov Ki Le'olam Chastov P'teach et Yadecha U'masbiya L'chol Haratzon Na'iti gam zakanti v'lo ra'iti tzad nezar Zarom v'akesh lachem, zarom v'akesh lachem Adonai oz le'amo yiten Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom Shalom.
That's where you usually go into the negative. Thank you.
Not that we're going to be drinking, but we have to have the glass full, at least for the third cup of wine.
What is it? And what does a horse like to eat? Hey! Sorry. We haven't done Berchat Hamazon here together in a long time.
Bear shooting's legal in Alaska, all other states.
Reportage never breaks.
Yes.
In the state of Idaho, there are no hyenas. I like that one.
I've never heard that one. All right. The third cup, which is on page 26, Cantor, Hineni Muchan Mizman Kayem Mitzvat Kos Shlishi Sharba Kosod. Hit it with the blessing.
Baruch Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pari hagafen.
Amen.
And you are technically supposed to drink a whole glass each time.
Yeah, but we both have to do minyan and
Yeah.
other things. So this is the time that we open the door for Eliyahu, and my neighbor walks in. At that time, we're inviting Elijah
With his mask.
Yes, for Elijah to come in as well. And then we do the great Hallel, Hodu Lanoi Kitov, Kile Elam Pastov, the Hallel that we do all throughout Passover during the service, the Psalms of Praise. So page 27, give us a little feeling of the Hodu.
Hodu l'Adonai ki tov ki le'olam chasto. Hodu l'Elohe ha'Elohim ki le'olam chasto. Hodu l'Adonai ha'Adonim ki le'olam chasto. Yosei niflaot gedolot levado ki le'olam chasto. The short version.
It says, give thanks, Lord, for God is good, for God's kindness is forever. We now go to the fourth cup. Man, we're just drinking really fast here.
I tell you this.
Baruch
Ata
Adonai
Eloheinu
Melech
Ha'olam
Borei
Pari
Hagafen L'chaim. The rabbis identified each cup of wine with a fourfold promise of redemption. God spoke to Moses, tell the children, I will bring you out 1, I will rescue you 2, I will redeem you 3, and I will take you for me as a people, and I will be for your God, for you as God forever. Those are the 4 cups. Many people add a 5th cup for the modern state of Israel today. So we're now coming to the closing songs of the Agadat Pesach for the Seder Pesach. I hope that we are inspiring you to have your own and learning a little and getting to know us a little better as well. And Adir Hu on page 29, the poet, a 15th century German from Germany, recounts the divine attributes in alphabetical order and praise for the building of the third temple. We will take the third temple to be a time of peace as well.
Good idea. Adir Hu, Yivnei Beito Bekarov, Bimhera, Bi'amenu Bekarov, El Bnei, Bnei Bercha Bekarov.
Nice job. Now we get to my favorite one, because you can learn all about Judaism. Achad miyodea.
Who knows?
One who knows, yes. So the 12 is, you can do the 12. Where's the 12? 13. Shloshasar miyodea. The 13, I know. It is the 13 is for the 13 midot, attributes. The 12 are Shnemasar Shivtaya for the 12 tribes. Achadasar Kochvaya are the 11 stars from Joseph's dream. The Asara Dibraya, the 10 commandments. Tisha Yachei Leda, the 9 months of pregnancy. Shmona Yemei Milah, the 8 days until circumcision. Shiva Yemei Shabta, the 7 days of the week, the 7th day being Shabbat, of course. Shisha Sidrei Mishnah, the 6 different volumes or breakup of the Mishnah. Chamisha Chumshei Torah, the 5 books of Moses. The Arba Imahot, the 4 mothers. The Shlosha Avot, the patriarchs. The Arba Imot, the mothers are the matriarchs. The Shlosha Avot are the patriarchs. Shnei Luchot Abrit, the 2 tablets, the 10 commandments, each tablet having 5. Achad Eloheinu Shabashamayim Va'aretz, the one being the one God in the heaven and the earth. The cantor will sing for us the first and the last one. Achad Miyudeh and then Shlosha Asar.
Echad miyodea. Let's try that one again. Echad ani yodea.
No, Echad miyodea. Echad miyodea.
Echad miyodea. Echad.
All right.
I've had too many glasses of wine.
Echad miyodea. Echad ani yodea. Echad Eloheinu, 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 Eloheinu,
Shebashamayim u'ba'aretz.
Shloshasar miyodea.
Shloshasar ani yodea. Shloshar
midaya. Shnemasar shivtaya.
Echadasar chalvaya. Asara dibraya. Tisha yachei leda. Shmona yemei milah. Shiva yemei shabta. Shisha sidrei mishnah. Chamisha chumshei Torah. Arba imahot. Shlosha avot. Shnei luchot habrit. Echad Eloheinu, 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 Shebashamayim u'ba'aretz. Sounds like we already had like a bottle of tequila or
Yes,
something.
no, we have not. Now we get to Chad Gadya, one of the favorite songs, and I will, there's a dog in this eating a cat and so forth, so on. It's a great children's song. If you can find something on page 34, see if you can figure out what is there. My dog.
Well, I mean, you have an arrow that says Rocky Bloom.
Yes, that's our secretary was here, Joanne English, Zichron Livracha, may her memory be a blessing. Love dogs, love my dog, and when she put this together, she put him in the
Interesting
in here
point
as
of
well. So, Chad Gadya, go ahead.
Go ahead.
And that's on page 33. That's for you.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya.
Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya, Dizavan Abba Bitre Zuze, Chad Gadya, Chad Gadya. You'll have to look at all those yourself.
There's
for
a
this.
lot of them there.
And we come to the conclusion, the Nirtzah, the Pesach Seder ends with a prayer that all our efforts to perform the Seder properly may be pleasing and acceptable to God. It says, Chasal Sidur Pesach, Hilchato, concluded as the Pesach Seder, finished down to the last detail at home. Once again, we're just giving a little explanation, a few of the songs, so you can be inspired to do it at home. I hope at home, we both hope at home, you have a full Seder, a great discussion, and concluded for us is the Pesach Seder, finished down to the last detail, with all its laws and customs.
I hope you can have, or you have already had, depending on when you're looking at this, some people there with you, or at least virtually by Zoom, to be able to be with you, with family, friends, and whoever else you'd like to be with.
Amen. And may God bless us with all that is good is more. We finish with the next year in Jerusalem. And next year, God willing, second night Seder here at the synagogue. And we can all do it together.
Amen.
Lashana Haba'ah.
Lashana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lashana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lashana haba b'Yerushalayim, Lashana haba b'Yerushalayim habnunya. And if not in Jerusalem, at least back here.
Yes.
In Fort Worth at Congregation Ahavat Shalom.
Chag Kasher, V'Sameach, a happy, healthy, and kosher Passover. Cantor, thank you. It's been a blessed year, even with this corona, to be here leading these things with you. And I hope next year we'll be free to even have a bigger, better, and as enjoyable Seder as this year.
Amen.